Hello, my name is Judy Kuntz, and I'm a volunteer producer for Traverse Area Community Media's public access TV station. And today I'm here with Dana Ferguson, one of the two Democratic candidates on the ballot in the August primary election. His goal is to become the Democratic candidate for the U.S. Congressional seat for Michigan's 1st District. The winner of that primary will face the incumbent current District 1 U.S. representative. I'd like to let the audience know that this particular interview will be shown on the Traverse Area Community Media website. You should be able to get that very soon, but it is tacm.tv, and you'll see a search bar in there. And what you would put in the search bar to access this interview is Ferguson Interview 6520. So Ferguson Interview 6520. That will be the code for this program. And I'd also let you know that it will be also available on Dana's website. So his website is Ferguson, Ferguson, for Michigan, all written out. Then the number 1, but no number sign. So FergusonForMichigan1.com. So we wanted to make sure that you could access that information afterwards. So now I'd like to introduce Dana Ferguson. Welcome to Traverse Area Community Media's candidate interview. The 1st District, of course, includes more than just Traverse City, much, much more. And I'm going to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit more about the particulars of a district that you seem to truly love. We met recently, Dana, didn't we, through a debate that you had with your primary opponent over Zoom. And of course, we wish we were in person today, but circumstances don't allow that. But you certainly have a truly Michigan life story. Can you tell us about your background, your education, work experience, and any other gems of your life relevant to your desire to serve the 1st District? And please feel free to just share your heart out.
All right. Thank you, Judy, and thank you, TACM, for doing this today. I really appreciate it. It's a beautiful day. We both have the sun out a couple hundred miles apart, but we're connected by the 1st, and the 1st District is an impressive district. It's one of the most beautiful districts in the country. It's approximately 25,000 square miles, which makes it one of the largest. It's the 2nd largest east of the Mississippi. And it's rural, and it needs a lot of help. So let's get into how I got to this moment. I did not have a political future lined out for myself. This isn't something that I had planned. I grew up in a small mining town in the Upper Peninsula. I'm a 3rd generation Uper. I come from a working class background, just like my dad and my grandparents. And so this wasn't really something that I had planned, like some people may do. This was something that I've really kind of grown into. After I graduated high school, I became a dad at a really young age, and that is what set me on this path. I started working as a union laborer for my dad's construction company in Marquette. I also enrolled in Northern Michigan University, started working on my bachelor's degree. After I graduated with my bachelor's in economics, I went out thinking that I would have a job waiting for me. And truth of the matter is, that's not how it works. So I had a family to take care of. So I continued working as a union laborer for my dad's company up until around 2009, when the recession hit and the business had to close. So my parents lost a lot of their retirement. I was out of work. I had a family to take care of. So I really had to figure out what my next steps were. I decided I was going to go back to school. I started working on my master's in public administration, again at Northern. And while I was doing that, I got into carpentry. Eventually I joined the Carpenters Union. And that's my story. There's obviously a lot of details missing from that, but basically it's a working class story of a guy from a small town taking care of his family. And I have 3 kids of my own. My wife has 2 kids. 3 of them are in college right now. And we have one that just graduated high school, and we have one going into 7th grade. So that gives you an idea on who I am. But how did I get here is really, you have to go back to that day when I became a dad. And when you put those selfish ways behind you and you realize that there is more to the world than just you, there's a future that we have to worry about. And that is my concern. I think that there is not enough emphasis put on the youth. We are not doing enough to help them. And that's what I want to be out there doing. And I think I have this unique ability to do that with my background in economics, with my work history as coming from a blue collar background, but also becoming a dad at a young age. I understand the difficulties of going to school and looking for work and not finding it. I know what it's like to worry about the environment, about climate change, about healthcare. These are all things that I've gone through in my growing pains of living here in the 1st District. So I can talk about certain things like infrastructure and the economy here, and it's not that I read it in an article somewhere that I know that these things are important. I've seen them. I've watched friends and family leave to search out a better life, a better paying job. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to contemplate leaving the area. I fortunately chose to stay here, to raise my kids here, because that was important to me. So I'm here to bring to the 1st District something that I don't think we've had in a while. And that's someone that understands the struggles and challenges that we face, but also someone that's going to be proactive and help create a future that we can really get behind.
Thank you, Dana, so much for that thorough coverage. And my heart connects with you on several levels there, having been one of 5 children of a dad who was a truck driver and who was a member of the Teamsters Union. And, things were often tight, but we got through it, went to college, etc. All 4 of us went to college, all 5 of us went to college, but on our own, that kind of thing. So here we are today, okay? And it sounds like you are truly invested in working for and helping the Michigan 1st District to thrive. And so let's get to some of the specific questions that I'd like to ask you today, and I'm sure that our listeners and our watchers would really like to hear about. So to orient things, I'm going to ask 2 questions on each of 3 topics, and with a purpose, okay, to get a broad sense of your positions and views. In an interview like this, it's impossible to cover everything. You know that. And so what I hope is that this would be the first of maybe a couple more interviews before the primary, where we can dig deeper into some of the other questions and issues. And with the fast-paced things that are going on in the world, what's going on today, we have may have different perspectives 2 weeks from now, a month from now. So
yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to talk or to answer each main question, and then a minute to respond if I ask a follow-up question. Can't promise I will, can't promise I won't.
All right, sounds good.
Go with the flow. So, okay. And if we have any time for additional questions, then I'll come back and get some or save them for the next interview. So, okay. So the first topic, we're going to start with the heavy one because the first topic is heavy on the minds of District 1 residents and addresses the economy. So there's kind of a couple parts to this, okay, but I want you to have all the parts, and then I can go back and ask you the first part, second part. So the question is, how would you characterize the economic base of the 1st U.S. House District of Michigan? And what are some of the special challenges facing that district? And then, of course, beyond that, what are your views and policy proposals for dealing with these challenges, or at least some of them? And how do they differ from those of how do your views and proposals differ from those of your primary opponent and the incumbent that you will hopefully be facing in November election.
Mhm.
So, and I can remind you as we go along. Okay, so
Okay.
first attack how do you characterize us? I know that you've said some of that already, but put
Mhm.
it in economic terms.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at the first district, it is a diverse kind of economy. We have a tourism economy, we have a mining economy, or an old mining economy in the UP, but it's very working class. We have farmers, we have tourists, or tourism industry, but it's very, very working class. And I think the people that live here are the people that are obviously, they're here for the quality of life aspect. It's not that like, oh, we're here because we want to get rich or anything like that. It's because we choose this area because of its beauty, because of the natural beauties it has, the safety, security that we feel by raising our kids here, retiring here. And I think we need to look at preserving that. But coming from an economic background, I also think we really need to be planning for a future. So many communities, so if there is a tourism community, that it's very difficult to have a year-round economy, and that can cause a hardship on homeowners or people looking to raise a family there. So what I'd like to propose is not change anything drastically across the district, but work with local communities, and I think we need someone at the national level. So the culture and background of these areas, and really have an asset, a teammate at the national level. So we can find out what they're missing, what they need, and I can help facilitate what they're missing.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for that characterization. I've only been here for 12 years. Actually, it'll be 13 in July. I didn't think we would stay that long, but things change. And I've certainly, it takes time for someone who's not been born up here or born a Michigander to learn the character. But you've hit a lot of that very much on the head, so to speak. And so that does lead us to what are some of the special economic challenges facing us because of that? And what are some policies and views or policy proposals? I know it might be a little early for that, but got the wheels going there for dealing with these challenges.
Yeah, well, I think the first district is a perfect example that we can look at and how we modernize our economy. It's a large rural district, and there are others across this around the country. So rural districts often get a little left behind or ignored, and I think that is something that needs to change. Because I think in a way we end up falling behind, and you can look at different aspects of our infrastructure, whether it's roads or transportation or telecommunication, and that affects our education and healthcare. So these are things that are so important for us to stay kind of up to date when we compare ourselves to other areas, whether it's Lansing or Ann Arbor or Green Bay or any other mid to large city. So I think we need to have infrastructure investment in rural areas around the country. And obviously I would be fighting for the first district. And by doing that, we can prevent some of the brain drain that we see. So the youth from leaving, but that can also act as an asset, bringing people to the area because of the natural beauty of the first district. So, but we need someone that's going to be fighting for that. When you do that, you're going to create strong, sustainable, and stable economies, and they're not going to be, I would predict, they're not going to be huge cities. It's not about that, but we're going to have stable economies. So the populations might be 5 or 10,000, but the economies are going to be stable, and that should be our goal. And the people or the groups that would benefit from this would be small businesses, would be local farmers, would be entrepreneurs, and those would be the main ones that would benefit, but we would be able to draw in other industries and sectors to the area because of our strong workforce.
So Dana, how do your views and policy visions differ from your primary opponents and as well as the incumbent in the district right now?
Okay. Yeah, I think it all comes down to the vision of what a future economy would be. I'm not just talking about modernizing our infrastructure. I'm talking about it's a complete revamping. We need to prepare for automation. We need to prepare for globalization because it is happening, and rural communities, rural districts are not ready for it. And we have to be. Otherwise, we're going to be losing our competitive advantage. I don't know if either my primary or general opponent has a full understanding of that. I can't speak for them, but I do. So I think we need to be looking at this big picture, both short term and long term, where you can combine what is happening, the path we are going down, but also we have to stay true to the culture of the first district.
Well, thank you for your perspective on that, and we'll probably learn more about that question as time goes on. So, and just on a personal note, I have two high-tech children. They're in their late 20s and early 30s, and they're trying to make it. And one is coming back to Michigan and going to be kind of combining that because she loves the area. And she loves the outdoor stuff. My other one, he's fine just staying in his room. His whole computer setup. So, but okay. So this next question is also an economics question, and let me read that here for a second. So again, it's got a couple of steps. You speak often about moving people into the middle class, and can you explain that concept and how it applies to District 1? And what are its potential benefits, okay, and for whom? And what steps would you propose to positively impact that middle class?
Yeah, building the middle class is really important to me because I don't just look at a country as a business. I think that's a horrible way to look at this thing. So economic decisions are not business decisions. You just have to take it from an economic approach. The middle class is so important because these are the things, they stabilize the economy, but they also stabilize society. When people are in the middle class, crime goes down, spending goes up, which creates a strong, stable economy. So we have to look at the country in two aspects, both as a society, but as an economy, because we're both. So middle class, they're not just workers, they're also consumers. They are people. So we shouldn't look at an economy and say, well, we have a lot of people falling behind and that's okay, because that's just the way it is. I think it's a really poor attitude and outlook to have, both on an economy and as a country. So I think we can be doing many things to be pushing that, because there are endless amounts of benefits, and I can't think of any negatives for it. So that's why I always talk about it. And so I'm a big proponent of livable wage. I'm a big proponent of unions. These are all things that really promote the middle class. And I think if we could get to that strong middle class, you're going to see both society and the economy as strong as it's ever been.
The second part of that question is, can you give maybe one or two areas where you think, in terms of policy or legislation, where it's not just in terms of starting jobs, but laws and things like that that can actually help support the building of the middle class? Now, 1 minute question.
Sure. I think to do that, you got to look at what is our plan. So, and that's where I would start talking about, again, that's modernizing our infrastructure. It's moving to a green economy where we're creating green jobs. And it really is a period in our history that is changing. And it might be more of a rapid change than we're used to. The last 150, 200 years have been a slow change. It's been gradual. But we're at this moment now with climate change and protecting our environment where things have to happen faster, because all of our actions of the past are catching up to us. So I think we're going to be seeing that. And if we are really active in this environmental movement, unions are going to be a huge part of that. And again, unions, you're going to see that the middle class grow. So policy, obviously we have to look at tax structure. that's going to be helping something both for the individual and for businesses. We need to be thinking about small businesses and local farmers when we're making these decisions. So yeah, that's what I would be focusing on.
Okay. That is, you know, I think one of the best ways that I've heard anybody talk about how integrated the economy is with so many other things. You know, even though for our ability to understand it, we sometimes separate it out, you know, but,
Yeah.
but bringing in all the things that you already brought in, which are now some of the things I'm going to expand upon.
It's a good segue.
Well, thank you very much. And I keep loving you mentioning unions, because my dad was a union man, and that really helped my mom after he died, let me tell you. So,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. So take a deep breath. Believe in relaxation. So one of the other second area that I'm going to ask questions about is the area of social services and the safety net, which is, like, I love what you said about there's a difference between an economy and a society, because this is where we get into the who are we, not the what, but the who are we, what are our values, what are our connections to other people, and how does the economy interact with that? Does it, you know, set up obstacles to communication with each other because we're in a different business, or, you know, that kind of thing, or rivalries, you know? So these are really more have to do with some of the actual, you know, human issues. Okay. So here's the first one. All right, I'm gonna hit with the heavy one already. So COVID-19, you know, not asking you to be a biologist, has increased awareness of the challenges we, and I mean individual human beings, groups of human beings, countries and societies and the whole world face regarding health in our planet. So how would you characterize health service needs versus opportunities for health service in District 1? And of course, you can expand on that in terms of the economics of it, et cetera.
Okay. Yeah, I think if there is a silver lining from COVID-19, it has brought to the forefront the problems that we see in the system. We are seeing rural communities struggle, and you know, I talk about rural, but I think it's important that we talk about the similarities of rural and urban areas, because I think that gets overlooked so much. I mean, urban areas get talked about, they get the attention, and rural areas don't, but we have more in common than I think we even realize. And this is an area where I think we do, we're underserved, even though we're on two different extremes. So yeah, the healthcare, rural healthcare facilities across the first district are really struggling. And you know, with the closure of some and the limiting of services, you're seeing that financial strain really be put on them. And honestly, I'm not a proponent of privately owned healthcare facilities, because I think healthcare, like education, is not something we should be looking to profit off of. It's for the betterment of society, for our country. It's not an individual profit-making endeavor, or at least I don't believe it should be. So yeah, so I think the first district has faced many challenges, and I do believe it will get better, because this is something that we haven't faced before. And given the structure of our economy and society, you know, this was an opportunity to learn. So hopefully going forward, we can address some of the disparities that we've seen. And if this does happen again, which I hope it doesn't, hopefully we can be better prepared for it. But yeah, the healthcare is a huge issue. And if you go back to infrastructure and telehealth, people have to travel quite a ways in some areas to get to the doctor, and that can be a hardship if they are elderly or can't get around very easily, or if it's in the middle of winter and you got a snowstorm coming. So you know, these are all things that really need to be addressed, and with technology and better funding for rural facilities, they can happen.
Well, thank you. Yes, I'm having, my family's having their first experiences with telehealth. And I guess the only one good advantage of it is that when your doctor slaps your hand about something, they're not really doing it physically, but they do have to say, why didn't you go and get your labs? And you go, oh, no. So,
Yes.
and I have a follow-up question on that one. You've talked about what some of the specific challenges are, distance, et cetera. Do you have an underlying progressive approach, or what would be your approach to addressing some of these philosophically and or economically? Where do you stand on every community on their own, or trying to do cooperative types of medical services, bringing in individuals, fresh out of medical school, by encouraging them to come to the area, or giving them particular kinds of bonuses or something for coming to the area. And then once they come, they're going to leave, right?
Right. Yeah. And this is a big question. There's so many different aspects to it. Education wise, I believe that we need to be making it easier, I don't want to say easier, but easier for people to get into the field if they want to. Right now, there's so many obstacles, and I don't believe the financial obstacles should prevent someone if they're interested in helping people and they want to be a doctor or a nurse or PA. We should be encouraging that. And right now, there are a lot of obstacles, and they tend to affect the people that don't have a lot of money, and that's a sad reality that we face. I don't know if this is what you're getting at, but I am a proponent of a single-payer healthcare system, whether it's Medicare for all or some other remedy. I've lived a lot of my adult life without health insurance, so I know these fears. I know what that's like. My wife has had 3 bouts of cancer. She has been cancer-free now for 10 years. She got her 10-year checkup. We have to go to U of M every late summer, early fall, and this will be our last one. But, what I tell people is nobody wants to get sick or injured. So we should be looking to protect our citizens, no different than if we were being attacked by a foreign foe. Nobody wants that, and nobody wants to get sick or injured. So we should be treating this the same way. And I believe that we can, and we can be doing it by saving a lot of money, saving lives in the process. This would take a burden off of small businesses. This would take a burden off of local municipalities. This would help so many people in so many different areas. And I think rural areas would be one of those. If we could ensure that people have those treatments that they need, people can go there and invest in those communities, raise their kids there without fear that it's going to be leaving.
Okay, yeah. Well, I certainly know that coming up here, as we did 12 years ago, from near the University of Michigan system, if Munson hadn't been here, and within a 40-minute drive, which I've done on an emergency basis a couple of times. Not for me, it's never for me. I'm so healthy, but anyway. But yeah, when that comes, that is a critical factor in healthcare.
Yeah.
So.
And often cases, these are the main employers in an area, and if they leave, that could be the straw that broke the camel's back, and those communities can close up. I know there are areas in the Upper Peninsula that are very close to that point. Okay.
Well, again, it's, tying those two, I just put my fingers together, how intricately tied, the medical care and the economy is. So, well, we're going to move on. So,
all right.
Let's see. Another question, this is the second question about the social services. And this one's so big that I wasn't sure exactly how. So I'm gonna actually, have you do some prioritizing here. So the question is, how do you rate education as a factor in the success of individuals and communities in District 1. What kinds of changes to education, here's some prompts, what kinds of changes to education would you propose? Could you speak to the difference in traditional versus, AI and virtual education and how that can be combined? And basically expanding our view of what education is.
Yes, yeah. I just had an education town hall. I hold a town hall every Sunday.
Great.
And just did one on education where we had some educators there. And so first off, education is always at the top of my list because I think education, it solves problems. It makes us better. Even if we don't like it, it makes us better. It makes us more tolerant. It educates us in a way where we're understanding of other problems and other people. So I'm a big proponent of education. The first district, this is big because so many areas, I'll use Negaunee for an example. Negaunee, we are close to Marquette, but other than that, there's not a lot going on in Negaunee, but Negaunee's always had good schools. So a lot of people choose to raise their kids here because of the schools. And I think we've had that in Michigan, but now we're making it so difficult for our teachers to do their job. We are always looking to cut their pay, cut their benefits, and expect more and more out of them, even though they have one of the most difficult jobs out there and definitely one of the most underappreciated jobs. These are people that are spending more time with our children than we are oftentimes. They have to see the difficulties. Say if there is an underprivileged kid that's not able to eat in the morning, they're seeing these struggles at school. If they're seeing if they have a hard home life, they're seeing that at school. They have to put up with that. And I say put up with, and that's a horrible term, but they have to absorb that. And it's just like nurses who have to see the pain of a patient. These teachers are seeing the pain of their students, and they're not robots. They feel that. And that's not something that translates into their paycheck. So I think it's important that we remember that. So I think teachers are grossly underpaid, and that's why we're having a hard time finding them, because we expect so much out of them, and yet we don't want to give them what they're worth. And we want to limit their ability and their freedom in educating the youth in the future. And I think it's no wonder why we're seeing people say, why would I do this? As much as I want to, why would I do this? That's one aspect that I'll try to keep this next part quick. But if we are not able to rebuild our economy and reinvest in the infrastructure, our communities across the first district will not have the means to invest in their schools. And if we don't have those, people are not going to come here. So if we are looking for talent to come to an area and they have a family, they're not going to come here. It's important to remember that. So we need to be investing in our communities so these critical areas like healthcare, like education, the schools, they can get the funding that they need, and that will help stabilize it.
And the whole lifespan of education is also important. I'm going to put a word in there because having been an educator most of my professional life, I think I even do a little of that in the work I do at the TV station. But it's a hard job, and it's a heart-rending job. And you're really connected with, children and their goals and their families and their goals, and also some of the things that are challenging them. So, so thank you for, speaking again of that basically it's a social service area, it's a societal issue, and it has to do with commitment. So thank you very much. Okay. One more big topic.
All right.
I think we won't have time for any additional questions after these two. So I do look forward to having you come back again. So
absolutely.
So, okay. Who could talk about Michigan without talking about the environment It's come in your discussion of economics, et cetera, but now I'm going to address the actual environment in kind of a hopefully creative way. So climate and environment. It certainly sounds like your views relate to an acceptance that, number one, our environment is special, and number two, it's under stress because of climate, okay? It might not look when you look out at the green trees in the spring, but if you look closely, you see impact. So I came to the area in 2007. I did not know then. I asked my husband, I was so, didn't know because I wasn't a Michigan girl. I did not know, but now appreciate the natural beauty and the open environment of the District 1 region. Yet there are looming changes that come with climate change and pollution stresses. Do you see ways that the first district can retain its special distinctions and put them to use as a model for the state, the country, and the world? Put on your creative hat.
Yeah, we've got more freshwater coastline than any other district in the U.S.
But what do we do? What can we do with it?
I saw this top places to visit in Michigan, and I think 4 of the top 10 were in the first district. And I think there could be more. I think they were just trying to spread it around. We have so much to protect here, but we also have so much to be proud of. And I think that's what we need to remember. There's a reason that tourism is such an important and big industry here. It's because it's beautiful. And we don't want to protect it just because of tourism and so other people can enjoy it. That's a big reason why we live here. I think, like you said, you're talking about climate, and I've already mentioned, I think we need to be transitioning to green energy, green jobs. I think we can become energy independent at a regional level, not just the U.S. I think we can do that at regional levels. That's going to help our economy and our communities. But green jobs, I believe the first district is prime for. We have an amazing workforce. We have, like I've talked about, strong unions. I think we can get CTE education going. We can be working with high schools to develop the skills early on and getting them work right out of high school. There's so many possibilities. And this transition to a modern economy, a modern green economy, this isn't something that's going to take place over a couple of years. So we're going to be looking at creating generational jobs that, people coming out of high school will be retiring on. These are safe, clean jobs that are going to modernize not just our economy, but the U.S. And this will happen. So it comes down to, are we going to be working for it, or are we going to have a representative that's working against it? And right now we have one that's working against it. So it's time that we embrace these changes, get excited, bring the youth on board, and make these changes happen. So, and I think the first district is a perfect spot to see it. I think we'll be leaders in that with the right representative in Congress.
Great. Okay. I think there are tremendous, I know I'm not being interviewed, but I think there are tremendous opportunities, again, for connecting environmental work and environmental science with education, with career across all areas. And an image just popped in my mind of the Model T Ford, that we're kind of sitting in a place where we're between the horse and carriage and the Model T Ford. And there was a lot of people with horses who did not like vehicles, but of course the people with the vehicles didn't like the horses. And we're kind of in that same kind of launching, into a new area, and it comes with lots of creaks and groans and things like that. So,
change is hard. Change is hard.
Yeah, change is hard. But so, okay, you must be a mind reader. Okay. The last official big question is related to the environment. And the question is, due to climate change, economic changes worldwide, countries, regions, and states are realizing that they can positively impact their area. Several communities in the first district and statewide are involved in grassroots efforts to improve i.e. lessen the impact of fossil fuels by using renewable energy sources? What steps can and should, and again, what would you do policy-wise or et cetera, to be involved to help facilitate our response to climate change locally, statewide, countywide?
Yeah, and you're seeing there are a lot of local communities around the district that are taking those steps. I think we at the federal level, I think we try to find ways to make that easier for them, whether it's through tax incentives or rebates. We also really need to be looking at how the fossil fuel industry is taking advantage of certain tax credits that they get. They should not be getting any tax credits or rebates. It should be the opposite, actually. Right now, they're passing on their costs to society, and we're cleaning it up while they are raking in billions of dollars worth of profits. So that's something that has to change. The corporate structure of fossil fuels and their ability, and they've been allowed to get away with this for far too long. So it's time that we make sure that the costs that they are being responsible for right now is paid for by them and not random taxpayers out there. So I think that would be one way to help facilitate it, but also offering, very low interest loans for homeowners looking to retrofit their homes, or, we could be 0 or 1%. These can be long-term loans that can be tied to the home. I know there's legislation at the state level that is in the process. I think we need to be encouraging that. We need to be really looking at the positives to this and not continually being like an obstructionist saying, oh, we can't. We can. And it's not even a matter of can. We have to. So let's find a way to make this happen. And then we start taking those steps to get there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. We've gotten to the moon. Somebody has gotten to the backside of the moon, and we're thinking about going to Mars. So we can, it's a matter of having a big goal and then breaking that into steps that are involve individuals, groups, etc. So, okay. Well, time-wise, I think that we're coming to the end of a lot of our questions, but. We've covered a range of topics, and I certainly hope that you'll come back again as summer proceeds, as I mentioned in the beginning, and look at new perspectives. There might, things do change pretty quickly. As you learn and talk to more people in the region, your perspectives may change a little bit, but we'll hear about that. So Dana, I'd like you to give you an opportunity to make a final summary statement about why do you think that you are the best candidate to serve as the U.S. representative, the Democratic U.S. candidate for the position of U.S. representative for the Michigan 1st District, and that is the U.S. Congress.
Yes.
And what would be one of your goals while you're in Washington? Because you do have to go to Washington once in a while. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part, right? No. I think looking at this, I think you have to go back to my history, and it's been about what you had to do to get through. And I coming out of high school, I didn't plan to become a dad, and I did, and I had to find ways to get through that. I had to find ways to learn, and I see this as another one of those times. It's not just going to be me. We need people to stand up all over the country at every level, whether it's local, states, and the federal level. We need people to stand up and fight for what we think is right. And that's what I would be doing here and in Washington. We need someone with a voice that understands the people that they're representing, but it can't stop there. We have to be talking about the future. We don't go through the motions day to day because it's just for us. We should be thinking about the future generations. And I hope we can look at redefining the idea of greatness and not just say, well, we have the biggest GDP, we have the largest military, we have the greatest. I think it's time that we redefine greatness and say, how happy our citizens? Are we doing enough to make sure that nobody is getting left behind? And these are my goals. And yes, some of them are lofty, but you have to take steps to make any progress. And I don't think we can look back at the past and say, that's good. That's where we're, we accomplished that. That makes us great. And we're going to continue to be great just because of that. I don't believe that. I think if you sit still, you become stagnant. You're no longer great. Greatness is leading. So that's why I think we need to get back into the Paris Climate Accord. We need to lead on green energy, green jobs. We need to put education first and telling our children that they are important. We need to healthcare and people that can't afford it, they should not feel like they are less than someone that can. I think these are priorities as a country, but also at state and local level. Nobody should feel like they are less than, and I think too many people are right now. And that's what I want to bring out there. That's what I'm hoping people will see in me. And that's why I feel like people should vote for me, because those are my goals. I have an ability to connect with people at the individual level, but I also know where I think we should go in the future and what the younger generation wants.
Very well said. Thank you so much, Dana, for your honesty and your openness and your willingness to give a very valuable piece of your time to helping to get some information out to potential constituents in the 1st District. And I was shocked when I heard how big our district was. So I'm learning as I go. Okay, I said I'm not originally from Michigan, but I just want to bring this to a close by reminding our viewers that you can get access to information about Dana Ferguson and his campaign through going to Ferguson 4, and that's a FOR, so Ferguson FOR, then Michigan, the full word Michigan, 1, just the number, not the hash, not the #.com. And you can access this program by going to tacm.tv and using the search bar, put in Ferguson Interview 6520. And I hope that many of our viewers will take advantage of both of those methodologies to really listen and take to heart some of the things that you've said today as they are moving forward to get ready for their exercise of their right to vote in both the primary in July, I think it's the 3rd, but check it with your clerk, and the main election in November. So
August 4th.
August 4th. Thank you so much. The candidate would know. Okay. But, thank you again. Your honesty, your openness, and your sharing about your family and your goals. We look forward to talking to you some more.
Thank you, Judy. And thank you, Travis Area Community Media. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.